Is it good to rent or buy your house?
Make a very neat calculation of your budget.
Let's say you work for 1099. Can you still get a pre-approval?
1099 is something that the lenders probably see you as not a stable income.
There's other people like the house.
Yes.
So there's 5-10 people who give an offer.
So it all depends on you, like how much more money you want to pay for that house to get that house.
Earnest money is the money that you just deposit.
Yes.
And they keep for their own security.
It's only refundable. You tell it after inspection, like you find certain things that's not fitting to your budget, or if you don't like the house.
Can you negotiate on the rate with the bank?
Shop for the rate through different lenders.
I hope everyone is motivated to buy a house now. Hello everyone, today we have our guest Guvanch, and we will discuss how we can get our first house in United States. Right, so we have this program that's called a mortgage, and we will discuss the details of the mortgage with them. Guvanch, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me again today here.
Is it good to rent or buy your house? And if I want to buy my house, what is the steps I need to take?
If you have a frequent plan changes in the next 5 years, if you're going to move, you're going to change schools or expecting kids or change a job, then it depends. Then I don't recommend you should buy a house, especially if the market is not that well. But when it comes to your other question, if you should buy a house, what do you need to pay attention to and how are you going to buy a house? So first of all, you need to make a very neat calculation of your budget. If you are on a single income and not going to be able to afford a house, then if the rent is more affordable, then you should stay at the rent, in my opinion. But let's say you make your calculation, you tell yourself, okay, I can afford this house. Then there are certain things like you need to pay attention to the neighborhood of the house. You need to pay attention to the schools. You need to pay attention to the current situation of the house, such as its foundation, its roof, its environment, and the interior, if you're going to spend money on these things. Because if you need to spend money on the roof, the windows, the doors, these are very costly items that you going to do on the house. And but let's say you decide all these and you want to buy a house. The process is very simple. You contact the lenders, the banks and the lenders, and then you tell them you wanted to buy a house. They ask certain information, and then they give you a pre-approval. So the pre-approval means how much you can afford with your current salary. The bank tells you, okay, you can buy up to a certain amount of money, the house price. And then you start looking for a house. You find a real estate agent and then tell them, they're going to ask, do you have a pre-approval? Because having a pre-approval is something essential when you see a house and if you wanted to extend a contract that you're interested in buying it. So that's called pre-approval. Pre-approval, basically, they run your credit history, they see how much income you make, and then they run your social security, and then they tell you, you're going to be approved for this much loan at this rate. And then that's usually good for maybe 45 days or something. And then once you find the house, then you lock the rate and then you go with that. But that's the first process. And then there are more processes come after this.
To get this pre-approval, what are the requirements?
There are no requirements. What you just basically do is just call the lender and tell them your first and last name. They probably ask your address, social security, where you work, and how much you make. And then they tell you, this is how much you're approved. It's not a very formal, you don't need to submit a lot of documents. They just ask you over the phone.
Let's say you work for 1099. Can you still get a pre-approval?
If you were on a W-2, it's a lot easier than getting a 1099, because 1099 is something that the lenders probably see you as not a stable income. Because if you are on a W-2 and you're working for that company more than 2 years, which means that you have a stable income and a stable job, but at 1099, you may make more money today, but you may not make money for the next 3 months. So that's what I see when the 1099s apply, and that's probably what the banks see as well. That's a little difficult, but it doesn't mean that you cannot get it.
So you need a lender, right? And
Yes.
Can you go directly to the bank and get the pre-approval from the bank itself?
Yeah, if for example, Chase always been sending me a lot of emails to go and talk to them, and yeah, I guess you can, yeah.
Then once you have a pre-approval, then you can go and shop around the houses.
Yes.
And can you just go by yourself, go to Redfin, find a house, and go by yourself, or you need someone that takes you to the house?
No, you need a real estate agent, because real estate agent, that's what they're for, because they are the bridge between the buyer and then the seller. So what they do is they have a platform that the seller's agent shares the code of the house, if the key is in the lockbox, or it's an electronic lock, or it's a manual lock, and they communicate through a platform. And this platform enables them to securely exchange information. You can't just go to a house and tell them I see it, unless there is an open house. Open house means that, let's say tomorrow is Sunday, on the Redfin it shows that from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. we have an open house. Like anybody can come and check the house. But other than that, if you just want to go by yourself, you can't really go by yourself. You need a real estate agent to take you there, and then to show the house, to open the door and make sure that everything is locked when they leave the house.
Let's say you like the house, so what is going to be the next step?
First of all, you shouldn't directly extend an offer for the first 2-3 houses that you see. At least you need to see a handful number of houses and compare the schools, neighborhood, and your budget, the interior, the exterior of the house. Then you like a house, and then you wanted to, let's say the house is listed for $300K. And then depending on the market, how hot the market is, or how moderate, or depending on the market, you extend your offer. It may be more, it may be less. And then depending on the condition of the house, you extend your offer. Your real estate agent prepares the contract for you. You sign the paperwork, you send it to your agent. These are all through the emails, like eDoc or something. And then your agent sends it to the seller's agent, and they tell you by the end of the day or tomorrow if they have any other offers, or if you are the only one. If they accept your offer, they tell you, okay, we accepted your offer. Then you have a certain period of time, I believe it's from a week to like 10 days, you need to do the inspection. And when you do the inspection, you're gonna assess the value of the house, the quality of the house, and then see what's wrong with the house, what expenses are waiting for you if you buy the house. Then you tell them, okay, these are the faulty stuff that we found in the house. Would you like us give us a credit? Or then you start negotiate.
Okay, so let's say you like the house, and there's other people like the house.
Yes.
So there's 5-10 people who give an offer.
It's like a gamble, It's especially now, the housing market is very hot. There are low inventory throughout America. There are only like 1.2 million houses are on the market for sale. At a certain point, it was much higher, and it was much lower. But it's getting better. But at the same time, it's still expensive. It's hot. A lot of buyers. Yes, you can fight, but it all depends on you. Like how much more money you want to pay for that house to get that house. So if you're not willing to pay, let's say more than $30,000 just to get the house, just to win the bidding, don't just give more money just because you want the house. Then you're going to make yourself unhappy. But you can always win. You're going to try your best based on the assessment of the house. When you see the house, you understand like how much value it is for you. Then based on that, based on your budget, based on your savings, you can add your money on top of the offer, and then you extend it. There are ways to win it, but it's a very complicated step.
So let's say a house costs $400,000, right? And you really like the house. The house is amazing. Like this is your dream house, and you want to give like at least $50K on top of it.
That's a lot of money.
Or 50. or go crazy 100K, can you still do that? Is it like possible, or it has some kind of restrictions to go with the pricing?
Now, this is where the appraisal kicks in. So the house is listed for 400K. You want to get a loan? It depends on
How much
the income. Yeah, how much the bank wants to give you a loan for that house.
Okay.
If the bank tells you if the house is only worth $420,000, but if you want to pay 500, then you are responsible for the rest of the fund.
Okay, so there is an appraisal, right? So when you get the house, they value your house, saying you got it for 400,000, but you put 50,000 on top of it, but the value of the house is, let's say,
Less than that.
400,000, right? And you pay this 50,000 out of your pocket.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And plus whatever the down payment you do.
And then the seller may not sell it to you because you're a little bit exaggerating, because they know that if you don't have enough money, you're not going to get approved by the bank and your loan is going to fall. So you will not be approved for that loan if you exaggerate too much, and then they're going to lose 45 days with you, and then they have to release the house to the market. So I don't think that's a good idea to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So what else? What kind of other factors like works when you put an offer, like pricing, right? You put some, let's say, 10K on top of it. What else? What kind of other factors?
There's something called earnest money. It's a good faith in buying the house. That's what it means. So you tell them how serious you are in buying the house, and then you give the earnest money, and then they know that, okay, this guy is serious. He's trying to buy the house, and then they take the money. You do the inspection. If you don't like the house after the inspection, you can just get your money refunded back to you, and then you walk away. So this is the second. So you like the house. First, you get a pre-approval. You like the house. You go to tour it. Then you do the inspection. After the inspection, if you want to go with the house, then you start negotiating over the things that needs to be done to the house. And sometimes the seller may agree. Sometimes they may not agree. Or they may agree to certain things and they may not agree to other certain things. So this is the time that you can give up on the deal. But once you agree to all these terms and your earnest money is paid to them, then after this point, there is no turning back. You can turn back, but there are going to be a lot of fines. You can go to the court. This thing may get very complicated. But this is the time after the inspection. You're going to look at the inspection report. It's going to be a detailed book with a lot of pictures and explanations. You can also be present at the time of the inspection, which I highly recommend. And after this point, there's no turning back. But at this point, you can tell, okay, I didn't like the house much. I did the inspection, and an inspection is not cheap. It's like $400 to $500. You did the inspection. I don't like the house. I'm going to give up. Then you start looking for a house again. So
the earnest money is the money that you just deposit.
Yes.
And they keep for their own security, saying if you say no for a house for some other reasons than the legal reason, right? Then they will keep that money.
No, it depends. It's mostly refundable, but it's only refundable if you, as far as I know, if you tell it after inspection, like you find certain things that's not fitting to your budget, or if you don't like the house, then you tell them, like, I don't like the house. These are too many expenses that's waiting for me.
And how much is the earnest money usually?
It used to be like $2,000 to $3,000, but now the market is very high and people are putting like anywhere 5 to 10K.
Okay.
As a sign of good faith in buying the house. So
coming back to the giving an offer. So we say there is a earnest money we gotta mention. We gotta mention the price we're putting on top of the actual price, right? So what else? What kind of other factors we have there?
Also, they probably the seller is gonna mention, and you're gonna put that in contract. Is a very long page. If you try to go through all of them, it includes a lot of factors. The other thing is, like, the seller probably wants you to know that, let's say the house is listed for 300K, but then you are offering 320, and then they are asking you if the bank only approves for 280,000, are you gonna be willing to pay the rest of the money, because now the housing market is too high, and the bank may come and look at this house and then tell you, okay, this house is only worth $250,000. But sometimes people exaggerate their prices and see how many people are willing to buy their house for that price, not on a stable market, in a very hot market. So that's the other thing that's going to be on the contract. And then you're going to negotiate all the other stuff, like, are you leaving the shelves and then this and that? Like, are you going to leave this, that? And then how many days are you expecting to close the loan? And when are you expected to move in? And how long it's going to take you to close the loan? And then it's like, do you have a stable income? That kind of stuff.
Okay. Can you say I want to buy the house without the inspection to beat the other offers?
You can say that's a strong factor, but then you're taking a risk.
Okay.
If you're not expert in checking certain things in the house, then if you say so, that's going to be in the contract. And then seller side is going to have a lawyer. You're going to have a lawyer. And that's going to be written in the contract, and you're going to be taking a risk. But yes, you can. And then sometimes people do that.
How much is the inspection?
So inspection, I believe, for a moderate house, anywhere $400 to $500. For a single house, maybe $100 less for a townhouse, maybe $200 less for an apartment, because the difference is apartment. The inspector only checks the inside of the apartment. There are no roofs, no sidings, no backyard, no deck, no driveway, no garage doors. But in a single house, you have all these plus the interior. So single house is a little more expensive. And it's going to cost you for a single house somewhere like $400 to $500. It also depends, like, you can negotiate a little bit with the inspector. And then I highly recommend to do it when it's sunny outside, because you're going to see how much light is coming to your house. And then you're going to see a lot of things better if you go to the roof.
So inspector is simply he's checking if you have any issues in the house, like a roofing, siding, interior,
yes,
exterior. Right?
Yeah, mold, driveway, inside the house, the electrical works, the water flow, if you have a clogged sewer system, or the age of the roof, the sidings, the gutters, the windows, the appliances, and then the cabinets,
okay,
and all that stuff. The fences, the deck.
Okay, let's say it's a green light. Inspector gave you a green light. Now, what's going to be the next step after the inspector?
If you do the inspection today, in a couple of days, the inspector is going to send you probably the CD and then a book that with the pictures and explanations of where things need attention. Those might be little stuff like the electrical sockets, or like the certain baseboards, or some like a seal coating on the driveway. These are something that you can do on your own. But if it requires a new roof, or if it requires a new furnace, if it requires a new windows, if it requires a driveway that's like full of cracks, then these are put in the contracts again. So the contract is, you initially extend the contract, and then you're adding all this stuff with your agent and with your lawyer to the contract, and then you're sending it to the other side, which is the seller, and then you negotiate back and forth. You tell them, like, okay, the roof is in this condition. If I buy this house, I want to buy it, but I'm going to have a huge expense. So they may say, okay, we're reducing the price. We're going to give you credit. Or they may say, like, you need to buy it as it is.
So do you negotiate yourself? You just call the seller saying, hey,
No.
how does that work?
No, you don't even accept the name of the seller. You don't even have any contact information. That's why you have the bridge, the real estate agents.
Okay, so real estate agent does that job?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're a real estate agent, you tell your agent, and an agent tells the lawyer, and then they put it in, send the contract, and then you send. Everything is in the written format. You can't just call them in and tell them, like, hey, this is and then their verbal confirmation means nothing.
So there's also a lawyer in between.
Yes.
Is the real estate agent finds the lawyer, or you go?
You can find your own lawyer, but sometimes the real estate agents have lawyers that they usually work with, and then they can recommend the lawyers that they work with, or it's up to you. It's a free choice.
So this is our lawyer, let's say buyer lawyer. But does the seller lawyer has their own lawyer?
Because all these things need to be put in writing. So that's why and then you also need to understand what are the risks of putting these things in writing and requesting them, or like telling them, you're going to fix that, you're going to fix this.
And how much the lawyer cost?
I guess it's $500-$600.
Okay, so 500, 600.
So the inspection is like $400,
right? 500 for a lawyer, right?
Another $400 or $500 for the appraisal.
Appraisal. Okay, what is an appraisal again?
So appraisal, let's say you commit to buy the house, you extend the contract, and then the seller agrees with your offer. You do the inspection, and after that, the bank comes and sends someone and checks the house. So they check the driveway, the condition of the house, and compare it with the other houses that are being sold or was recently sold in the area, and then they put a price tag for the house. That's somewhere usually around the selling price. And then the bank tells you, okay, the house is worth this much. We will approve up to this loan for this much for this house. And that's what it is called, the appraisal. And some of the lenders include the appraisal money in the closing costs. Some of them charge you up front, which is anywhere like $400 to $600, I believe.
So let's say we all agreed everything is closed. What's the next step? Like how we buy the house, like how we get the money?
So you work with a lender at a bank. You work with a loan officer. So loan officer tells you to fill out certain application, and then tells you how much you're going to be approved for, and then how much is going to be your interest rate, the costs, and how much time they need to close the deal. Close the loan, I mean, not the deal, I would say. And you're going to work with the loan officer most of the time. If you have any questions regarding the payment or loan, you're going to contact them through the emails or phone call. And they're going to ask certain documents to make sure that you have a stable income, make sure that your ID matches the person who's applying for the loan, and then the person who's going to be on the title, which is usually you and your spouse, or if you're single, it's just going to be yourself. And they're going to ask for your residence. They're going to ask for your ID. They're going to ask for W-2s. They're going to ask for bank statements. They're going to ask for the money that's in your bank at least a certain period of time. You can't just, if you deposit the money yesterday and try to use that as a down payment for the house, then that's a red flag, because that money may not be yours. You may just be borrowing it. Banks see that as well. See it like that.
Okay.
And what else? So these are the things, and then it takes a while for the bank to clear to close. That's what the process is called. That means the bank finds everything in your application as called satisfactory, which means that you're good, you're going to be approved. It's just waiting for the loan to be approved. So after that, you're going to go to sign the title, the titling company, you sign, and then you get the keys.
Coming to this point where, they check your bank account, let's say the buyer, has some cash, and that buyer puts like $50K as a cash to his account or her account, and, wants to use that as a down payment. Is it a red flag because that person had the cash?
If it's no, there are explanations to it. Let's say you have an apartment that you recently sold. If you can provide a documentation that you sold this place and then this is the money, or you sold your car. So because not every person always have this much money. They either save it in their account, which is very obvious that you've been saving it. They're going to see that with the daily summary and your bank statements. And or you may sell a property, a house property or a car property or something else, or you may borrow money from your wife or your immediate relatives, and then these are the ways you prove it. If you sell your car, you have a bill of sale, you have the title, the date of the sale, or if you sell the other property. So these are things that proves that this money belongs to you. But if you have no proof and you just deposited the money a few days ago or like within the last month, then that's a red flag. But if you just deposited the money yesterday but you have a proof, that shouldn't be a problem. They may ask you, where did this money come from? But then you have a proof that this money belongs to you. You just sold your car, or you just had your house sold, an apartment. Yeah.
Next question about the rates. I know there is a high rates currently in the market.
Yeah, APR and interest rate.
Yeah. And can you negotiate on the rate with the bank?
Yes.
How do you do that? What, based on what? You can say, hey, I want lower rate, or what is it?
No.
Right.
Of course, everybody wants to get a lower rate, but at the same time, banks want a higher rate because it's how they make money. The thing is, like, it depends on how credible you and your history to the bank. Bank assesses you based on your income, based on how long you've been working for that company. Are you on a W-2? How much money you have in your bank account? Like, what kind of loans had you had in the past? And then did you close them on time? Did you have any late payments? And then how did you utilize your credit cards? Do you have any debts at the moment? That's what they call DTI, debt income ratio. So they calculate all these factors, and then they put together, and then they come up with the interest rate. And then that might be a little higher. If you are two people with the same credit score, but you apply to the same bank, you may not get the same rates because all these factors play a great role. And then, like I said, depending on all these variables, it plays a role when the bank determines the interest rate for you. So let me tell you the difference between an interest rate and an APR. So interest rate is the amount of interest rate that you're going to pay to the bank, the bank that is lending you the money. APR is something, annual percentage rate. That's what the APR called. That's included with the loan and then other fees that's included to your. So, of course, you need to look at the interest rate. But when you buy a house, you should always keep an eye on the APR, because your APR is going to be slightly higher than interest rate, and that's the actual amount of interest that you're going to pay monthly to the bank. So that's the key thing that people need to look at it. And then, like I said, you can negotiate the interest rate with the bank depending on all these factors. It depends on how strong history you have, how much down payment you're going to put. Let's say if you're going to put 3% down payment, let's say your interest rate might be at the current rate 7%. But if you put 5% down payment, it might be 6.75. Or it might, if you put 10%, 20% down payment, then it might be even lower than that. And then the other side is if you put 20% down payment, you're going to eliminate the PMI, the primary mortgage insurance, which until you hit the 20% value of the house, you're going to have to pay an insurance on your mortgage, which is usually 0.5% of the loan amount.
Okay.
So you can negotiate. There are ways to negotiate with the bank, and then what you can do is you can shop for the rate through different lenders and tell them, this is the rate I got, like how much credit you're gonna give. There are a lot of things involved in the process. They usually add a point, and then they give you credit towards your closing costs, or sometimes they give you a better PMI, the primary mortgage insurance rate, but your interest rate is going to be a little higher than the others.
PMI is simply when you putting the 20%, less than 20% down,
Yes.
and they get a PMI,
Yes.
which is primary mortgage insurance.
Yes.
How much is usually the PMI?
in the current market, maybe 150 to 250.
It's a monthly payment, right?
Yeah.
150.
Maybe somewhere around 100, depending on how much down payment you're going to pay. And then depending on your credit history, credit score, income.
Let's break down this monthly payment, monthly mortgage payment. Let's say someone will get a house for $400,000.
Okay.
So how much if the person will get with 7%, let's say average percent rate right now is 7.
Basic way to put this is with the other costs and everything. So at the current calculations for a moderate income person with the current interest rates, so a $300,000 house is around $3,000 payment a monthly, including mortgage, the taxes, and then the principal.
Okay.
And then $400,000 house is around $4,000 payment. Not exactly 4,000, maybe 3,500. So it's roughly in that.
So this 3,500, it includes the your principal, which is the payment that you pay for your mortgage.
Yes.
Right. Second one, it includes the rate.
Yes.
How much they take the money from you, the rate amount. Third one is the insurance, PMI, which is let's say
everything is included in that.
$150, right? And plus the taxes, right?
Yeah.
House taxes. So PMI, if you will say $150 per month, plus the taxes, let's say a yearly tax for the average tax in the Illinois, it's like a 9,000, right?
Yes.
Let's say it's gonna be $700 per month. So you simply pay 700 plus 150, $850 just for your tax and PMI, right?
Yes.
Even if you bought that house for a cash, you'll be still paying that amount, for which is $850. Is that correct?
Yes, but if you buy the house with cash, then you're not going to pay for the PMI. You're just going to pay the tax.
Oh, yes. We will remove the PMI.
Yeah.
Just the taxes then
Yes.
will be left.
Just the taxes, yeah.
And you, of course, need an insurance from your insurance agency to...
That's different. That's not included in your mortgage payment.
Oh,
the PMI is the insurance for your mortgage loan.
Okay.
Mortgage loan. But the insurance for the house, it's the property insurance. That's different.
Okay.
That's you pay it to the... they actually deduct that inside your loan amount that you pay to the bank. They put in the trust, and then they pay it through the escrow account to the insurance provider. But when people calculate the amount of the mortgage that they're going to pay monthly, they usually don't include that. They include the PMI, the taxes, property taxes, interest rate, principal.
Someone wants to buy a house for $400,000, right? How much the person needs to have money? How much money the person should have in his or her bank account?
So the last 4 or 5 years, the housing market really went up. I believe the average house in America is around $450,000. That used to be a way less, around somewhere like 265, less than 300. So if you're gonna buy a house for $400K, you should be at least making $100K to $120. When you get a pre-approval, bank knows how much you owe to which financial institution. Let's say you have a car loan, you have a student loan, you have another mortgage, and then the money that comes to you as a passive income from another property or another business, and then you have your regular stable income. So the bank calculates all these, and then they calculate how much debt you owe to these financial institutions. And the basic calculation is like the banks usually approve up to the 30% of your income, the gross income, up to 30% of your gross income. That's how much your mortgage should be up to. If it exceeds that, then they may also approve it, but then you're going to be in trouble, because the basic thing is like 1/3 of your salary goes to mortgage, 1/3 is for the pleasure, commute, cars and everything, 1/3 is for the food and other stuff. So it should not exceed 30 to 40% more than the maximum upper boundary should be like somewhere around 40% in order to be able to afford a house. But if you are somewhere like 25 to 30% of your gross income that you pay to your house, then you're very good.
So what is the closing? What do we do on a closing date?
So basically, the bank checks all these submitted documents and then make sure that you're on a stable income, you can afford this house, and then they give a green light. They say it's clear to close. Clear to close means that you were approved, the bank is satisfied with your application and then submitted documents and then level of your the amount of income you make. And then they say, okay, this person is satisfactory for us, he's approved. Now all they do is just approve the loan and then transfer it to the other institution. And this time you get notified that this is going to be your closing day for other side too, and then for you. And then you go to the title company, you sign the paperwork. It's this much paperwork, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the lawyer reads all of these to you. If there are things that you don't understand, you can definitely ask. You just go to the house, check it one more time before you go to the closing, one day before, just to make sure that everything is in place as it was in the inspection and as it was in the touring when you were interested in the house in the initial phase, to make sure that you don't see anything abnormal. If anything has broken, then you can notify that. You can just sign it, you get the keys, and then the house is yours.
Perfect. Thank you. I hope everyone is motivated to buy a house now, right? With all of these kind of payments and the fees and the things.
I hope it's going to get better. It's a little high compared to what it used to be, and the market is high. And but at the same time, people need to live.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing all these details with us. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not expert in the topic. I'm just sharing from my past experience, life experience, things that I learned over the time.
Yeah, this will, I think, help to a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.